Here's another one of those stories like ahead of time. He did everything right. Make her think he was someone else, but in the end, he wasn't that person. So, listen up to her story, she says. Am I the a-hole for divorcing my husband after he underwent a complete hygiene transformation post-wedding? When I first met Derek at my best friend's dinner party 3 years ago, I was immediately drawn to him. He was immaculately dressed in a tailored button-down that complemented his eyes, smelled of subtle cologne, and had this infectious laugh that made everyone around him smile. Our courtship was like something out of a romance novel. Surprise picnics where he'd arranged everything down to the fresh-cut flowers, thoughtful gifts that showed he truly listened when I talked, and dates where he'd arrive early, always looking polished and put together. During our engagement, Derek was the one who insisted on keeping our shared apartment spotless. He'd often beat me to cleaning the bathroom or doing the dishes, saying things like, "I want our home to be a place we're both proud of." My friends would joke about how lucky I was to find such a well-groomed, considerate partner. His mother once told me, "I raised him right. A man should know how to take care of himself and his home." The wedding was perfect. Derek looked handsome in his tux, having gotten a fresh haircut and professional shave the day before. Everyone commented on what a striking couple we made. The changes started subtly. 3 weeks after returning from our honeymoon, I noticed Derek's side of the closet becoming disorganized. Dirty clothes began appearing on the bathroom floor instead of in the hamper. I didn't say anything at first. We were adjusting to married life, and everyone deserves some grace during transitions. By month 4, Derek had stopped replacing empty toilet paper rolls. Dishes piled up in the sink until I handled them. When I gently mentioned these changes, he'd laugh it off. "That's what wives are for, right?" I'd laugh uncomfortably, reminding him that wasn't our arrangement, and he'd improve for a day or two before sliding back. 8 months in, I realized his daily showers had become every other day, then twice a week. The designer clothes that had once been meticulously maintained were now worn repeatedly without washing. One night I reached for him in bed and recoiled at the sour smell emanating from his unwashed body. When I suggested a shower, he grumbled that I was being too critical and turned away. The final straw came at my company holiday party. Derek showed up in stained pants he'd been wearing for a week straight, unwashed hair slick with oil, and breath that made my coworkers subtly step back during conversations. My boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay at home. I was mortified. That night I confronted him directly. "What's happened to you? You used to care about these things?" His response stunned me. "Why should I bother anymore? I already caught you? Mission accomplished." 6 months of couples therapy revealed the truth. Derek had been playing a part during our courtship. He admitted maintaining his appearance and home had always been exhausting for him, and he'd only done it to lock down a wife. Now that we were married, he felt entitled to be himself, which apparently meant abandoning all hygiene and household responsibilities. The divorce was finalized last week. Derek's family is furious, calling me shallow for leaving just because he stopped dressing up. My former mother-in-law now says I should have expected this because men aren't naturally clean creatures. So Ida for divorcing my husband after he underwent this complete transformation? Guys, he's stinky. Go ahead and weigh in on this because it's ridiculous that he thought he had her and he didn't have to be clean anymore. Like, comment and share.
We all know something about cheaters. Let's hear this guy's story. Am I the a-hole for calling off my wedding 1 week before the ceremony after discovering my fiancé was cheating? I don't think so, but let's listen up. I, 34M, was supposed to get married to my fiancée, Ellie, 31F, next Saturday. We had been together for 2 years, what I thought were the best 2 years of my life. We met through mutual friends at a charity event, and I was immediately captivated by her wit, intelligence, and the way her eyes crinkled when she laughed. Our relationship progressed naturally. We moved in together after 8 months, got engaged at the 18-month mark, and had been planning our wedding for the past 6 months. Everything seemed perfect. Ellie was thoughtful, affectionate, and we rarely fought. I thought I had found my person, the one I'd grow old with. 3 weeks ago, I started noticing some odd patterns. Every other weekend, Ellie would mention visiting her cousin, Jen, who lived about an hour away. This wasn't new, she'd been doing these visits since before we met. But recently, she became protective of her phone, would get dressed up more than usual for these family visits, and would come home late Sunday evening smelling of cologne. My gut was screaming at me that something was off. Last weekend, after she left, I did something I'm not proud of. I checked our shared credit card statement online. There it was, a charge for the Lakeside Inn and Suites in her cousin's town. The same hotel appeared every other weekend going back months. I called Jen directly, claiming I needed to reach Ellie for an emergency, but her phone was off. Jen sounded confused and said she hadn't seen Ellie in almost a year. When Ellie returned Sunday night, I confronted her. At first, she denied everything, accusing me of spying and trying to flip the situation. But when I mentioned speaking with Jen, her face crumbled. Through tears, she admitted she'd been meeting her ex-boyfriend, Marcus, at that hotel every other weekend for the past 8 months. It doesn't mean anything, she sobbed. It's just physical. I love you. I want to marry you. I'm just going through something like a phase. Marcus and I have history, but you're my future. I sat there numb as she explained how they'd reconnected at a work conference and had been carrying on this affair. She swore it would end immediately, that she'd block his number, that she'd go to therapy, anything to save our wedding. But all I could think about was how she'd looked me in the eyes for months, planning our life together while systematically betraying me every other weekend. The level of deception was staggering. The next morning, I called the wedding venue and began the process of cancellation. I notified our families and closest friends that the wedding was off, explaining briefly what had happened. Then I contacted all out-of-town guests to ensure they could cancel flights and accommodations with minimal financial loss. Many had flexible tickets or were still outside the cancellation window. Ellie is devastated, alternating between begging for another chance and angrily accusing me of throwing away our future over one mistake. But this wasn't one mistake, it was dozens of deliberate choices over many months. Her family is split, her parents understand my position, but her sister is calling me heartless for not giving her a chance to make things right. Some mutual friends think I should at least postpone rather than cancel outright. My family fully supports my decision. I've moved out temporarily to stay with my brother while we figure out the apartment situation. I've returned her engagement ring and asked that she not contact me except through our attorneys. AITA for calling off the wedding so abruptly. Should I have considered postponing instead of cancelling? I just couldn't imagine standing at the altar with someone who had been lying to my face for nearly half our relationship.